Graven, developed by Slipgate Ironworks and published by Realms, is an ambitious project that merges the dark, medieval fantasy atmosphere of classic first-person shooters with modern gameplay elements. It aims to evoke the spirit of games like Hexen and Heretic, while also offering something fresh for both veteran gamers and newcomers. With a mix of excitement and skepticism, I played Graven to explore its world, combat, and overall experience, and this is my review of the game, which will help you decide whether to get it or not. From the outset, Graven sets a compelling tone. You play as a disgraced priest, exiled from his order and seeking redemption by confronting a malevolent cult that spreads chaos across the land. The narrative is delivered through environmental storytelling, cryptic dialogues, and scattered notes. This approach, while immersive, can also be somewhat confusing. At times, I found myself lost in the game's dense story and subtle hints, wishing for more direct narrative guidance. This method of storytelling requires you to piece together the plot from fragmented information, which can be both engaging and frustrating, depending on your preference for storytelling. The world of Graven is nothing short of mesmerizing. The art direction excels in creating a dark Gothic aesthetic, with each location feeling distinct and richly detailed. Navigating through crumbling cathedrals, fog-laden swamps, creepy villages, and haunted forests, I was consistently impressed by the atmospheric environments. The game's use of lighting and environmental effects, such as dynamic shadows, flickering torches, and creeping fog, adds depth and mood to the world, enhancing the sense of immersion. These elements work together to create a world that feels alive, dangerous, and deeply atmospheric at the same time. Secondly, exploration is a key element of Graven, and it's where the game truly shines. The semi-open world design encourages you to delve into hidden areas, uncover secrets, and embark on side quests. This sense of discovery is incredibly rewarding. I found myself constantly rewarded with valuable loot, intriguing lore, and handy shortcuts. However, the lack of clear objectives and maps can sometimes lead to frustration. There were several instances where I wandered aimlessly, unsure of my next move. This can be particularly vexing, especially if you prefer a more guided experience or are new to this type of game design. The game can benefit from more intuitive navigation tools and clearer hints for guidance through its sprawling environments. Combat is a blend of melee, ranged, and magical attacks. The variety of weapons and spells available allows you to adopt different playstyles, keeping combat engaging and dynamic. Melee combat is particularly satisfying, with weighty attacks and visceral feedback. Swinging a hefty mace and feeling the impact on enemies is a delight. Ranged combat, especially with spells, adds a strategic layer, requiring you to manage their mana and select the right spells for each situation. However, the combat system is not without its flaws. Enemy can be inconsistent, sometimes overly aggressive, and at other times surprisingly passive. This inconsistency leads to unbalanced encounters, detracting from the overall combat experience. Moreover, hit detection issues occasionally make attacks feel ineffective and unfair, which is often frustrating. Puzzles are another integral component, and for the most part, they are well designed. You will encounter a range of challenges, from simple switch puzzles to more complex tasks involving element manipulation and riddles. These puzzles often require creative thinking and a keen eye for environmental clues, providing a refreshing change of pace from combat. However, some puzzles can be overly obtuse, leading to frustrating trial and error attempts that disrupt the game's otherwise smooth flow. There were moments when I found myself stuck on a puzzle for longer than I would have liked, which obviously breaks the immersive experience. Visually, Graven embraces a retro aesthetic reminiscent of late 90s PC games. The deliberately low-res textures and blocky character models evoke a sense of nostalgia for veteran players. This stylistic choice, while charming for some, may not appeal to everyone, particularly if you are accustomed to modern graphics. Despite the retro look, the game's lighting and environmental effects are impressive, adding depth and mood to the world. However, graphical glitches and texture pop-ins occasionally break immersion, reminding you of the game's indie origins. These technical issues, while not game-breaking, can detract from the straight-line gameplay and pull you out of the world. The sound design of the game is one of its strongest elements. The hauntingly beautiful soundtrack, with orchestral and choral elements, perfectly complements the dark fantasy theme. Ambient sounds from the creaking of wooden beams to the distant howls of unseen creatures enhance the sense of immersion, making the world feel alive and foreboding. While voice acting is not great, it is competent and helps bring the characters to life, adding another layer to the game's atmospheric storytelling. The sound effects for spells and weapons are also well executed, adding to the visceral feel of combat. Performance-wise, the game generally runs smoothly on most platforms, but it is not without its issues. You might encounter occasional frame rate drops, particularly in densely populated areas or during intense combat sequences. These performance hiccups are more pronounced on lower-end hardware, but are not game-breaking. Optimization patches have addressed some of these problems, but there is still room for improvement. Additionally, load times can be lengthy, and the game occasionally crashes, which can be particularly frustrating during critical moments. These technical issues, while relatively minor, can add up and impact the overall enjoyment of the game. Replayability is decent, thanks to its semi-open world design that encourages exploration and discovery. Numerous secrets, side quests, and hidden areas provide ample content for you who enjoy delving into every corner of the game. Multiple difficulty levels and a variety of weapons and spells also add to the replay value, allowing you to experiment with different builds and strategies. However, once all the secrets have been uncovered and the side quests completed, there isn't much incentive to return. Despite the drawbacks, Graven is a game that I personally think deserves attention for its ambition and creativity. It successfully captures the spirit of classic first-person shooters while introducing its own unique twists. The dark fantasy setting, atmospheric world design, and engaging exploration make it a rewarding experience, especially if you are an avid fan of the genre. However, if you're seeking a polished, streamlined experience, then you might find its rough edges and old-school quirks off-putting. Whether or not you should buy Graven depends largely on your gaming preferences and tolerance for some of its rough edges. If you're a fan of classic first-person shooters like Hexen and Heretic, and you appreciate a richly crafted dark fantasy world, Graven is likely to be a rewarding experience for you. Its atmospheric environments, engaging exploration, and satisfying combat mechanics will offer a nostalgic trip down the memory lane while introducing some modern twists, which I highly recommend experiencing. However, Graven might also not be for you as it has its fair share of flaws, including inconsistent enemies, technical issues, and occasionally frustrating puzzles. The fragmented and not so on-point storytelling might also be off-putting for you if you prefer a more straightforward narrative. Additionally, the retro visual style might not appeal to you that much. For those willing to look past its imperfections, I would highly recommend checking it out as it surely offers a unique and immersive adventure. It has the potential to become a cult classic with further updates and refinements. However, for the majority part, if you're unsure, it might be best to wait for additional patches to address some of the technical issues and balance concerns.